Hello, I thought I'd read for you today from my new anthology of short speculative fiction, And the Angels Sang. I'd like to read for you an excerpt from one of my favorites, short stories. It's called For a Cup of Tea, and it's an alternative history to the famed race between the tea clippers Cutty Sark and Thermopolyae. Malvern, fussy on the subject of custom, would have made an exception and pleaded work, even illness, to have excused himself from dining with his aristocratic passenger. But the question of prevarication rankled even more. At the moment he presided over ocean perch, peas, and mounds of mashed potatoes. First mate Hardstrom just asked the navigator, a thin, frail man by name of Long, when they'd be passing through Sunda Strait. "About 31 days, I'd expect," Long answered, "if these winds hold." "Aye," second mate Peterson, next to him, said, "and we'll be leaving Thermopylae well behind." "I understand there's been a wager," Li Tzu said in flawless English. Malvern shot his guest a glance. "It won't interfere with your journey." "I didn't mean to suggest it would." Li's wrists rested against the table, his pale ivory arms disappearing into extravagant folds of red silk. Overhead a lantern swung ponderously, casting odd shadows around his eyes. "I was merely curious." "There's nothing about which to be curious, Mr. Tzu. Cutty Sark will be into port long before Thermopylae." "Should you require any assistance?" Li smiled. Malvern snorted. "Shanghai bribery doesn't work at sea." "I wasn't speaking of bribing bureaucrats." "Then bribery of what?" the ship's surgeon asked. Li looked at the surgeon. Without so much as a smirk or a laugh, he answered, "Spirits." It was perhaps because of Li's seriousness not an officer scoffed. Malvern couldn't help remembering the invective Hardstrom had thrown at the sea witch in a long-ago battle with death. "Nanny, my life's forfeit if you'll just save Malvern." And now they both rode a ship named for the short shift she wore. "There's no need for carnival entertainment aboard my ship," Malvern said, speaking with more conviction than he felt. "I assure you I spoke not of entertainment." "Are you claiming the state of prestidigitator?" the ship's surgeon asked, winking at the second mate next to him. "A man of science should be careful about forming uninformed conclusions." "And I suppose you'll tell us that jar's some sort of genie?" "Ifriti, actually. A long-ago gift from a visiting Ceylonese potentate." The men laughed with derision. Malvern clenched his jaw, thinking of ways to redirect this conversation. "Right, then," the ship's surgeon said, "Mr. Li Tzu, I'm waiting for some evidence that you're what you claim." "I believe you already have that." Malvern asked, "And what is that?" "Have you seen Thermopylae anywhere near?" "That's just fine sailing from a fine clipper," Hardstrom said. Li pivoted back toward the man. His attention was on Hardstrom, slid down to the first mate's plate where there were only the bones of the ocean perch. Had it not been for fair weather, Malvern would have sworn those bones moved from the sway of the clipper. Those bones moved again. More now. Filaments of white spun from rib to rib, the great white scales sweeping back from what should have been a lifeless head, but that the gills now pulsed. Once, twice, a third time. In the next moment a whole, very alive fish flopped against the china, arced onto its back, and flipped sideways, smashing crystal and tumbling silver as it fell to the floor. As Hardstrom bent, all at the same time, to seize this impossibility, bones hit the floor where a gasping fish had been for the briefest moment. Malvern lurched to his feet. "I'll not have any of your dark arts aboard my ship. Is that clear?" Li swung round to meet him. "Infinitely, Captain. Shall I remove the enchantment I've put on the ship?" "Yes, damn you!" "I thought you wanted to win." "I do, but in a fair race." "What makes you think this is a fair race?" "Because for whatever else Brown may be, he is fair." "Has it occurred to you there are other interests here?" "What other interests could there be?" "Those of the Empress Tzu and the Emperor Sing Fang." Hardstrom rose to confront Li, who still sat, implacable, very much the face of China. "What interest would they have in a wager between two English captains?" The Empress was very much annoyed when the Emperor announced my charge as a gift to the London Museum. So news, such as the wager between Captains Brown and Malvern, is often of interest to the Empress. She saw an opportunity, and being the dragon lady she is, seized it, Hardrum said, passing Malvern a look. If she can't have the precious jar, she'll see it delivered ruined. Malvern acidly, is that about it? Almost. Indeed, the Empress wants to see you ruined for having obstructed her wishes, inadvertently though that might have been. But she also wants the Ifriti. And knowing the Empress, she's loaded this wager in her favor. Very much. It was for that very reason the Emperor entrusted the care of the Ifriti bottle to me. Should the Empress seize it, she'd use the Ifriti for her own purposes. Plans within plans. The Manchu dynasty hasn't retained power by being squeamish. Lee glanced around the room at the men. And the Empress is very much part of that dynasty. Just as the Emperor has placed his most trusted magician into play, so has the Empress. Thermopolyae has a passenger, Hardrum said. A passenger who no doubt a magician, Malvern finished. Indeed. Do you still wish me to lift my spell? No. Malvern stalked from the mess, both the room and the situation.